Hello and welcome to Coaching Overwatch, where we discuss a variety of topics to improve our understanding of coaching in Overwatch. I'm Coach Sexy. Let's get started. On your screen, you can see all the topics I'm looking to explore over the next month or so, with one bite-sized video per topic. If one piques your interest, let me know in the comments and I'll try to get to that one more quickly. Today, we're discussing root cause analysis, symptoms versus cause. It's quite common for players to fall into the trap of pointing out symptoms that need fixing. Comments like, we're not focus firing enough, we need to focus fire more, or we split up too much, stay closer together next fight. And while sometimes these comments are accurate and relevant, the majority of the time the problem or problems are rooted much deeper. So how do you find the root problem or problems? There are techniques you can search online, but a fundamentally strong one is called the 5 whys. The idea is to keep asking why until you found what you're looking for. It might take 5 times, maybe more, maybe less. So if we look more deeply at the we're not focus firing enough problem, it could look like this. Why did we lose that fight? We split targets too much. Okay, why did we split targets too much? Our Tracer and D.Va didn't get on the target we called. Okay, why didn't Tracer and D.Va get on the target? Tracer engaged too early, had to use recall, and then couldn't reposition fast enough, so she shot a nearby tank who was not the target. D.Va, on the other hand, peeked a corner to scout with Matrix and ate a 5-ball from Zen right before we called to dive. So she came to the fight too late. So in 3 whys, we found deeper rooted problems, 2 problems actually. The first problem is Tracer overcommitted with blinks and was forced to use recall as we were setting up a dive. Posturing aggressively before a dive can be valid, but you don't want to overcommit before your Winston jumps in. The second problem is D.Va should usually use Matrix when peeking into enemy sightlines for information, or at least time her peeks according to enemy cooldowns and enemy clip sizes. Now, to be very clear, you should actually go deeper here and find out why the players made these decisions. Maybe it's the player's misunderstanding of a certain part of the game, maybe it was a subtle issue with the comms, maybe it's a psychological issue with managing patience, etc. And as you can see, these are all drastically different problems that need to be coached using different solutions. Now, this is great to do during VOD reviews and analysis, but this isn't exactly news to anyone who has even a little bit of experience doing this kind of work. So why do I bring this up? Because you can apply this concept to other areas, and there are 2 specific areas I want to address. The first is during scrims and matches. You want to get your players away from the habit of only identifying symptoms and instead prompt useful discussions. It can be an extremely difficult habit to break, but over time, you want them to learn to problem solve and self-correct on their own without help. So instead of just, let's focus fire better next fight, the conversation can be, we're not focus firing well enough. Does someone need to swap heroes or need help repositioning? Then someone can chime in with, yeah, I feel useless on Tracer, I need to swap. Or, yeah, I'm having trouble getting through the left flank as Tracer, can you give me a Zen Orb when I go in? And just a quick tangent, not all fights are created equal. Some fights, your objective isn't always just to win, there are other objectives. It might be to create a really effective stall that lasts for 2 minutes. It might be to drain enemy ultimates. It might be to put one person on the payload and have the other 5 teammates push into enemy territory to get good cart distance. The reason I mention this is because players tend to focus on symptoms a lot more after having lost a fight. So making them aware of fight objectives can mitigate this kind of behavior. Again, we're trying to break this habit and instill critical thinking skills into our players. Now, let's move on to the other area I want to address. Mentoring your players. Remember that you're not just a boss or a manager, you're a coach. So mentoring is a big part of the job. It's really important that you show your players that you care about them. And if a player is underperforming, find out why. Eventually, it will come down to things like lack of sleep, problems within the family, not eating right, conflict with another player, and the list goes on. And it's your job as a coach to gently find the root cause of these problems and then problem solve with that player. Now, of course, not every problem can be fixed, or at least, not quickly. But just the player knowing you have his or her back about the problem can be an immense help. One quick note before we get into the TLDR. You don't need to structure your questions so rigid with the why, especially when speaking to players about any personal problems or conflicts they have. It may come across as judgmental or unnatural. In fact, you can ask why questions without necessarily using the word why, with phrases like, how so? Tell me more about whatever. How do you think that happened? Can you explain that thought a bit more? These phrases still contain the spirit of the word why without using it. But the important part is to just keep showing a genuine curiosity of looking for causes and not just focusing on the symptoms. So the TLDR is to implement the idea of the 5 whys into your habits and your coaching staff habits. And that's the easy part. The harder part is to then instill the habit into your players so they can problem solve and self-correct in real time on their own. And finally, use this technique to better mentor your players. Okay, I'll link a transcription of this video below for anyone interested. Until next time.